Hi guys, it's Ian from OSBFX. It's 5:45 in the evening on Sunday, the 28th of November 2021. I wanted to do this video on a Sunday night because I wanted to get out to you guys because I think there's a relevant pattern in the Swiss franc that needs to be highlighted before the open tomorrow. What I want to also do in this video is really explain and emphasize how strong single currency analysis is. Now, I think this is quite unique. I don't see many other analysts out there doing the same thing. I've also managed to overlay a system that I've had for some time, which is my bespoke support and resistance levels. So it is quite unique. It does take a little bit of getting your head round, but one thing you must remember is that against every single currency there's another currency to trade on as far as spot foreign exchange is concerned. So if we're selling the dollar, we might be buying the Swiss. If we're buying sterling, we might be selling yen. There's always two sides to the trade, and we're looking for one weak currency and one strong currency, and that's why analyzing the single currency first gives us that edge, and every trader needs an edge in the market to try and decipher where the currencies are going. One way that you could trade this sort of analysis is just to trade the futures markets. So you could just trade the single currency, but you do need deep pockets for that. I know there are some brokers out there now that offer trading accounts with smaller sums for margin, but as a rule, you need quite a decent trading account to trade currency futures. Anyway, let's get to the charts, and hopefully I'll be able to explain to you why I believe single currency analysis is so important, why the Swiss franc I believe is going to move to the downside. I'm going to look at correlation, which is one of my favorite subjects. So I'm getting different factors to line up, and then I'm going to talk about bespoke support and resistance, which is a system that I've developed about 15 years ago now. So let's get to the charts. Here on the right hand side we've got the different currency overlay charts. Okay, again, don't get too worried if you think this is too complicated at the moment. This is the dollar. So basically what we're looking for is overlaying all the dollar majors on top of each other to give us a fair value for the US dollar. This isn't a weighted basket. Okay, so basically the euro dollar, or the euro against the US dollar, has as much weight as, say, the dollar against the Swiss franc, which is dissimilar from DXY, which is a weighted dollar basket, and that's quite important. So we've got all the US dollar crosses, euro, sterling, Swiss, CAD, Aussie, New Zealand, and yen. So basically there's 8 different currencies, single currencies, and against those 8 different currencies, you can see here, I'll just leave that on for a minute, you can see that there's 7 different currencies that are weighted against it. So here along the top there, we've got the US dollar against Aussie, Euro, Sterling, New Zealand, CAD, Swiss, and then Japanese yen, all unweighted. Okay, and what I look to do is I look for support and resistance levels in the single currency. I'm not going to say crosses because they're not in the single currencies. I then overlay that to try and find a counter currency that looks to be moving in a separate direction. So obviously if I find one that I want to sell, then I need to find another that I want to buy. These dotted black lines, not all black lines actually, are bespoke support and resistance levels. So you'll see that not just in the single currency charts, but also against all the majors and all the crosses. You'll see these dotted lines, and they highlight where my system highlights support and resistance levels. So at the moment, the US dollar, sort of bit no man's land. We've got a 261.8% fib up here. We've seen a move to the downside, but we've hit some support on Friday. That is important. Okay, and we're going to get to that in a minute. The euro, again, there's potential to make a pattern here, and I've actually put buy the dip because I'd prefer to trade this run up than this correction to the downside, but it's not a completed pattern. Okay, so I'm forward guessing where I believe the patterns are going to emerge. Sterling single currency, again, could be a corrective channel. Even from here, I'm not really producing any decent cipher patterns. Do ignore this last candle that's just being produced here because that is they're trying to trading viewer trying to open up for the Sunday night, and it's too early, and you get these spiky candles or false data, and it's highlighted here. You've got these two green ones. I mean, there's no way you get a green candle and a green candle together, and you can see at the bottom there that says 29th of November, so it's trying to read into tomorrow. But what is important on the Swiss franc is this. Okay, so this is a completed butterfly formation to 224% from the AB and 161.8% from the XA. So this makes a completed cipher pattern. I haven't got time to go through cipher patterns now. I get 15 minutes to do a video before it cuts off on YouTube. Please look to cipher patterns and how to build them yourself. But this is a completed cipher pattern. So this says that I should be moving to the downside in the Swiss franc. Canadian dollar, I've got some support here, but it doesn't make a cipher pattern. But when I talk about correlation, when we get onto the currency charts, that is important. So there's potential for that to move to the upside. There's potential for sterling to move to the upside, as we said off that channel. Aussie dollar, there's a potential support here. So again, these are just potential. They're not completed patterns. They're just potential new legs. Okay, so the reason I'm saying a potential support here is because it could be the CD leg of a higher move, but it could also be just a continuation of this CD leg. So I'm not completing a pattern. Okay, so I'm just giving myself potential. CAD, I'm not completing a pattern. I'm giving myself potential support. Swiss, I have completed a pattern, and that's important. New Zealand dollar, again, potential support here to complete or to start this pattern, BC leg to the upside. And Japanese yen, so again, I can say potential. Japanese yen, we're in no man's land. There's resistance to the upside. So that's a potential sell. So I only want potential buys. I'm not looking to sell Swiss and sell yen. I'm just looking to sell Swiss. So keep that in the back of your mind. We've got a completed pattern on the Swiss franc. So I now need to find a counter currency to trade against that, to buy against that Swiss franc weakness. So I'll then go to my trading view charts, and what I've done here is I put all the single currencies together. So Aussie, CAD, Swiss, blah, 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 and have them in baskets. So here is all my Swiss franc crosses. So I want to look to see whether or not any of these Swiss franc crosses say that I should be selling the Swiss franc. And the first one, I'm not going to do dollar Swiss because that's my prime one. I'm going to get to that last. So Euro Swiss. Well, here it looks quite bearish. We've got a 1 week chart that says I should be selling down to these levels. I've got a monthly chart that says I should be selling down to these levels. Okay, but look back to here. Look back to the single currencies. I'm not doing anything with the euro. Okay, I didn't say that euro was a buy. In fact, I don't really know where euro is at the moment. So there's a good chance that euro is still going to be weaker than the Swiss franc. So I've got nothing against it. Okay, it's in no man's land. And if I do see Swiss weakness, then all we could see here is just a correction to the upside before the next sell-off. So Euro Swiss, I don't want to be trading that against Swiss. Okay. One thing I should note is the Swiss National Bank will be hating Swiss franc levels down here, euro against the Swiss franc. You've got to remember they used to have the peg at 1.2. This is now at nearly at 101. So it's 800 points lower. Chance of intervention, I don't know, but they don't. I know for a fact I used to be a Swiss franc broker, and I know for a fact that they won't be enjoying these levels. Here, sterling Swiss, we talked about this. We actually had a short trade in sterling Swiss and it moved to the downside, but there is support down here. Okay, I'm just going to put a red line on there. Sorry about that if you can hear that music in the background. That's teenage kids. We were all there once. Distant memories. 122.66. So 122.66.65 has the potential to be support. A lot of people will call it a double bottom for a move to the upside. So that's telling me that yes, there's scope to buy sterling, sell Swiss. New Zealand Swiss. Okay, 88.6% here to potentially make this pattern, which would be this. Okay, so again, buying sterling, selling Swiss, there's potential. Here on this chart, 8 hours, a butterfly formation, buying New Zealand, selling Swiss. So that's confirming this selling Swiss bias. Okay, Aussie Swiss, 88.6%. So there's the potential, and again, it's just potential for this pattern. So buying Aussie, selling Swiss to get up to a bat formation. Again, selling Swiss. I'm not really worried about the Aussie side at the moment. And then CAD Swiss, we have this formation. Okay, so we've got a butterfly formation down here, projecting it from this level. So this is support on CAD Swiss, buying CAD, selling Swiss. And Swiss yen, I haven't got anything. So out of the 8 Swiss crosses, I've got already 1, 2, 3, 4 telling me that I should be selling Swiss. Let's go to dollar Swiss. And this is the favored pair. These dotted lines, what did I say? They're my bespoke support and resistance levels. Okay, so here I haven't just got a bias to sell Swiss. I've also got a bias to buy dollar Swiss because this is a pattern that I can trade. Okay, so I can trade the BC leg up from my bespoke support level, which is at 92.17. Okay, I've actually got it's now trading at 92.42. I've got a 92.23 support level from the price action on Friday, so we'll see if that holds early on Sunday night, Monday morning. So I've got this potential to move to the upside. Where can I get more weight on that? Well, if I go to the dollar, this dotted line, again, it's my bespoke support. So I've got a reason to be buying dollar. I've got a reason, lots of reasons, to be selling Swiss francs. And that gives me, where are you? A bias to buy dollar against the Swiss franc. So out of all of the currency crosses, as far as the Swiss franc is concerned, for me, buying dollars, selling Swiss is the best pair to play because I've got a Swiss bias, I've got a dollar bias, I've got dollar Swiss support that makes a pattern. Okay, you might say, well, why don't you trade them all? Why don't you have Swiss franc and New Zealand Swiss and Aussie Swiss? Because firstly, I'm only really paying the single currency. I'm really only playing Swiss francs. And secondly, these dotted black lines tell me that I should be buying dollar against Swiss and nothing else. Okay, guys, I hope that makes sense. And by the way, there's nothing to say, even though I've got a really nice pattern here, there is nothing to say that this doesn't explode through this resistance level if the dollar moves to the upside. We had a pattern on sterling Swiss going back to that, and we had a buy pattern that completed on Friday. But what's happened is we've actually gone through all the way through that support. So it was a good sell signal, but it wasn't a good buy signal because the buy signal didn't have the bespoke support level. Okay, I think that makes sense. I hope that all makes sense. Please come and join the group. It's free. If it doesn't make sense, come and join the group. It's a Telegram group. Ask questions. Okay, and hopefully you will then be able to understand single currency analysis, Cypher patterns, price action, and you never know, you might make a few quid at the same time.